Hello everyone and welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to be going over my current project, kind of an on and off project that I'm not in a hurry to finish, just something to do and get done when I get done. I guess you could say this is kind of a part one of I don't know how many parts, maybe 2, 3, I don't know. But in this video I'm going to be doing some talking and just going over some stuff, explaining my thought processes, whatever. So if you're really not into that, you're welcome to leave the video. I understand. But for those of you who are interested in what I'm working on and how I work on things, stay tuned and we will get into it. So if you can't tell what I'm working on just kind of by the overview of this, I am doing my own version of Forsaken Angels Talos or Talos. I don't really know the correct pronunciation, but I think it could be either one. I just say Talos. So I'm working on my own version of Forsaken Angels' Talos. If you've never seen it, click this video link right here and go watch that video. It shows pictures and videos of him working on it, how it was put together, and it firing, and it's pretty awesome. I finally got my hands on a Master Blaster and I said, hey, you know what? I might as well try doing one myself. And so far it's going pretty well. So without further ado, let's get into this video. I'm going to be going over the air tanks, my ideas for mounting the air tanks, especially the Titan, and the electronics that I am going to be putting into it. So let's open it up and move on. So this is the Master Blaster once it's gutted. I'll put a picture of what it looks like before I took all the wires out and all the electronics, and it's really quite something to look at. But once you get all the stuff kind of gutted out, this is what it looks like. There's a good amount of space to play with. It's not a lot of space, but it's a good amount of space. The only real things I kept from the blaster itself are the pump, which also acts as a stock, the stock locking mechanism, the stock air tank firing mechanism, the front laser piece holder thing, and 4 of the buttons. I have 2 push switches up here that were for the main trigger and the secondary trigger, the indoor-outdoor selector, which I believe works as just a single pull switch thingy, and then the mode selector, which is also another push switch. So I have 4 switches to work with, and I have designated 2 for some stuff in the blaster so far. I might get 3 if I can find a piece for this main trigger. But what I plan to do is I'm going to be kind of doing the same thing as Forsaken Angel. First thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be mounting the personal soundtrack t-shirt speaker and module from ThinkGeek. It's the same thing I used in the American Stampede. But this time I want it to be more internal and less external. So I've cut down the speaker quite a bit. This is the raw speaker. The giant thing that I put on the American Stampede was kind of like a faux cone. This is what the actual inside looks like, and this is really all you need. And my plan is to mount it right up here where this circle is. It fits in there, but I need to clear out this little piece of plastic and then figure out a way to mount it so I'm not directly contacting the speaker with the blaster. I think I figured out a way to do this, but I don't know if it's actually going to work. So if I do figure it out, there's probably going to be a part 2 if I do make a part 2. The speaker's battery compartment and circuit board are in this massive housing. What I plan to do with this is I'm going to cut out the battery compartment, which leaves just this area right here, which is the circuit board, which contains the speaker input, the I guess the control pad input, and the SD card slot, as well as an on-off switch. And I plan to have the on-off switch permanently in the on position and use the indoor-outdoor selector to turn it on and off. And I want to make it so that the SD card slot faces outwards from the blaster so I can still access it and switch out the SD card if I ever feel like switching the sounds or anything like that. So I'm going to cut that down, find a potential place for it, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. The other thing I'm going to add, which is going to run off of the secondary trigger push button, are 2 LEDs. I believe these are 32 lumen. They're like 30 or 32 lumen, and they have their own built-in resistor. I was going to do a different LED setup, which involved the ammo kind of selector thing right here, that one right here, as well as the LCD screen. I ripped out the LCD because I really have no use for it. And I was going to make it so that the lights lit up the ammo selector areas, but the LEDs I had were way too bright, and I didn't really want to go through the hassle of figuring out resistors and all that other junk. I did have help from a guy on Nerf Revolution, and he was very helpful, but I decided to kind of scrap that idea because I need more room for the selector panel, which goes right in here because it's a little bit bigger than that. But I'm going to be putting these 32 lumen LEDs on the front somewhere up here and have them shine and be bright and very, very pretty. That's going to be running off a 9 volt, which is going to be put into this very nice little 9 volt holder. These are usually used for guitars that have active pickups, also basses. And how it works is you mount this on the surface and you pull up the lid like this, and then you pull up this piece and you slide your 9 volt in there, and it connects to the little contact points, and you lock that and you push it back in, and it mounts right on the surface, and it looks really, really nice. One thing I don't understand that people do is they put their batteries inside the blaster. I know people put them in their stocks, but I really don't understand why you would do that. The idea of having to unscrew something just to get to the batteries is just a horrible idea to me. That's why I put batteries on the outside of my stuff, so they're very easy to access, and even though they kind of, I guess, disrupt the flow or the stock look of a blaster, I prefer it much more to putting batteries on the inside. So that's why I got this, to kind of keep it nice and clean, but also to house my 9 volt. So yeah, this might be used for something else, but I am unsure of that at the moment. So yeah, those are the electronics I have planned for right now. Just the personal soundtrack t-shirt, speaker, and the 2 LEDs. So let me move these out of the way. And now I will talk about the air tanks and how those are going to work, and an interesting idea that I thought up for the Titan tank, since I'm not really going to be following Forsaken Angel's way of doing that. So let's first talk about the 3Ks. The 3Ks mount up in the front of the blaster right here. That's not all the way in, but Forsaken Angel did this, so I'm going to do this. But the 3K tanks fits really nicely into this piece. They drop right in, and they only have a teeny bit of wiggle room, so that's pretty awesome. Currently they are super glued in with a lot of super glue, and they are not coming out. The firing pins have been bent just like Forsaken Angel did, and they have been epoxied. The reason for this is so that there's going to be a piece of wire pulling on this, since there's really no way of linking the triggers without using a piece of wire. And this allows it so that no matter where the wire is located, both pins get pulled with equal amount of pressure, so they both release with the same amount of opening, so one tank isn't, you know, halfway open while the other one is fully open. It just evens everything out, and it works really, really well. The only thing I'm going to have to do with this is possibly put a piece of polycarb where the pins are, so that way when they're open they don't bend down or up or sideways, because that can damage the valve opening, and we don't want that. So I will figure that out later, but for now this is working pretty well. You just bend the pins you know, a little bit out from there, and then epoxy them together so that when they open equally. So from the tanks, we have 2 check valves right here. And what this allows is, since the Titan tank and the 3K tanks are going to be pumped from the same pump, which is this stock pump right here, I wanted it so that I could fire off the Titan tank without draining the air from the 3K tanks, or fire the 3K tanks without draining the air from the Titan tank. That's why I have these 2 check valves here. So if I feel like holding on to the 3K shots, I can fire off the Titan tank as many times as I want after pumping, without shooting these off until I feel like it. Without these, if I filled up everything all the way, one would drain out the other, and that's just impractical, and I don't feel the need for that. So from the check valves, we have a Y connector, which just takes this one tube and turns it into 2. Nothing too big there. The way this is going to be mounted is I'm going to have these up here where they usually are in the stock blaster, and then the tubing runs through here, and then I have some cutout areas so that it does that while the stock pump stays in its stock location, so that the tubing runs right underneath of it in all this nice little gap area. And I'm going to have the wires kind of, coming out from different areas as well. On the pump, you might have noticed my check valve. I have that there because the stock one got blown out, or I don't know what happened to it, but it is gone, so I needed a check valve there. Let's move on to the Titan tank. This is the area that I am deviating from when it comes to Forsaken Angel's original build. I kind of found a way of my own to do this, but in his build, he took this area right here and he ground it out so that the Titan tank sat right here and it could use the stock firing mechanism with the Titan tank's pin. And it's kind of interesting that the Titan's orange piece right here fits perfectly into the orange piece on the pump. But I didn't feel like grinding out this this piece right here because I'm really picky about things being straight and very, very level. Couplers, tanks, all that type of stuff. I'm very picky about that. And I didn't want to cut this out and have it, pointing slightly to the left when it's inside the blaster, or slightly down, or slightly up, or slightly to the right. So instead I figured out a different way of doing things. I figured out that 3-inch PVC fits perfectly right here. I just need to sand it down a little bit and sand down some of the bumps inside of here so that the shell closes nice and snug around it, but it's not bulging. But I figured out that that fits really, really well in there. The only problem is a Titan tank is pretty loose inside of 3-inch PVC. So to combat that, I got some 2-inch couplers. The only problem with that is 2-inch couplers are a little loose in 3-inch PVC as well. So I put some E-tape around them. How this is set up is you take your couplers. I ground out the inner ring on this one. It slips over this and it goes onto the back. The reason I have E-putty here is to kind of level out the area where the orange piece is so that the couplers fit nice and snug. Instead of having one point of contact on the orange piece, they have this entire area. I just put epoxy putty on there and I sanded it, and then I used a razor blade to finely tune it a little bit more. Anyways, we put the coupler on there so it's level like that, and then we put the one on the front here until the inner ring is flat against the Titan. The reason I have epoxy on here is I was going to put a coupler on there, and I had to Dremel off that little nozzle piece, but the coupler kept being crooked and I didn't want a crooked coupler, so I tried filling that up and that didn't work either. But using these couplers will allow me to use different adapters. I have two with me right here, and these are for single barrels. And the hot glue is to fill up all the dead space, and they just pop in just like that, and then you can put a barrel on the front. And if I want an absolver, I just have to get some 2-inch PVC, put some CPVC in there, and I have an absolver for it. So this is kind of like a nice little multi-unit feature for it. So once you get these on, I'm going to glue them on when they're ready. They fit nicely into the 3-inch PVC. If it will cooperate with me. There we go. Just like that. And it will pop in right in here. I'm going to figure out whether I want to keep this right angle band on the Titan tank, or if I'm going to cut that off and just have the tubing running straight out. So far I don't really know. But anyways, it's going to fit right in here, and then I'll attach some wire going from the pin to this piece so it's nice and tight. So when you pull it back, it gets a nice full opening. That's my idea for that, and I think it's a pretty good idea. I think it's rather good. So yeah, I don't mind the crookedness of this coupler. It will get fixed. Yeah, so that's what I have going for me so far on my project, my Talos or Talos. And I wanted to get some more input from you guys on what I could do with the remaining 2 switches that I have. I asked this on Facebook and people said to make it vibrate. And I don't know why people said make it vibrate, but they did. I don't know, if you have anything interesting that's not more LEDs or making it vibrate that I could do with those 2 things, leave them in the comment section. Or if you have any ideas in general about what I could do with this, let me know. And yeah, so this is basically kind of like part 1, and if there's a part 2, it will be coming later in the future. Anyways, thanks for watching, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll make another video for you later.